Trauma can leave a chemical mark on your genes. Scientists have found that your ancestors' experiences can change how your genes work. This is epigenetics, showing that struggles from generations ago can echo into your life today. The anxiety or anger you feel might be a ghost from your family's past. It's not about blame, but understanding what's been passed down. Imagine a shout in a vast hall. The echoes linger, fading with each generation. These echoes shape how families see the world and relate to each other. But you can be the one to stop the echo. Will you let the echo continue, or be the one to quiet it? Meet the Dixons. On the surface, they look like any other family. Arthur, the grandfather, worked hard but rarely smiled. His son James loved his kids, but had a short fuse. Sarah, James's daughter, was bright but anxious, always waiting for something bad to happen. Family dinners were tense, with unspoken words and misunderstood feelings filling the air. Arthur grew up in poverty, learning to hide his emotions and just survive. He never hugged James or told him he was proud. James, craving approval, grew up feeling never good enough. His anger simmered, escaping at times he couldn't control. He didn't want to be angry, but the pattern repeated. Sarah absorbed it all, her anxiety a direct response to the emotional instability around her. No one called it trauma. They just said, "That's how Dad is." The tension was normal to them, the air they breathed. Patterns of silence and simmering rage passed down, unnoticed. Sarah's anxiety was the latest echo. The legacy continued until someone decided to question it. So, what is generational trauma? Imagine your great-grandfather survived a war. He came home changed, quiet, distant, never talking about what happened. His son grew up with a father who was emotionally unavailable, learning men don't show feelings. He inherited pain through silence and anger. This is generational trauma, pain passed down through behaviors, anxieties, even biology. It's like a family recipe, fear and silence mixed in, then passed down. Breaking the cycle means rediscovering what a healthy family can be. These wounds are secondhand, but healing can start with you. The past shapes us, but it doesn't have to define us. The cycle can end, if you decide to end it. In the Dixons, trauma wasn't a single event. It was 1,000 tiny paper cuts. Arthur's emotional numbness was his fortress. He provided, but the warmth was missing. James, starved for approval, turned that emptiness into anger. Explosions over small things, driven by a deep fear of not being good enough. Sarah, the third generation, became anxious and hyper-vigilant, always trying to keep the peace. She learned to be a perfectionist, believing if she did everything right, maybe everyone would be happy. These weren't isolated issues. They were links in a chain. Arthur's silence led to James's anger, which led to Sarah's anxiety. Each was reacting to the wounds of the one before. They couldn't see the pattern. They were living inside it. The scars were invisible, but real, and no one knew how to talk about them until someone tried. The breaking point for the Dixons came quietly. Sarah, in her 20s, found herself apologizing constantly in her relationship, panicking at the slightest sign of upset. Her partner asked, "Why are you so afraid of me?" The question made her realize she was reliving her childhood fears. That night, Sarah decided she was done living in fear. She visited her parents, terrified but determined to speak her truth. She told her father, "Dad, I love you, but I grew up scared of your anger. It's affecting my life now." At first, James was defensive, but as Sarah spoke, he saw her pain and the pattern. He remembered his own father's coldness and realized his anger was a legacy, not just his own problem. In that moment, he saw the echo. The cycle was clear. Sarah's courage cracked open the silence. For the first time, the family could see the wound. It was the start of something new. The question was, What would they do next? Would they let the echo continue or finally face it together? That conversation was the crack that let the light in. James didn't have all the answers, but he felt hope. Sarah wasn't blaming, she was asking for change. They made a pact to face this together. Their first step, learning. Sarah found articles on generational trauma and shared them with James. At first he was skeptical, but soon he saw his own life reflected in the stories. Next, James talked to Arthur, his father. He asked about Arthur's childhood, not to accuse, but to understand. To his surprise, Arthur shared memories, small glimpses of hardship and survival. For the first time, James saw his father as a boy who learned to survive by shutting down. It didn't excuse the pain, but it explained it. Understanding brought the first taste of forgiveness. The family began to see each other differently. The silence was broken. They weren't just repeating the past, they were starting to rewrite it. The healing had begun, one honest conversation at a time, and that was enough to keep going. Learning and talking were just the start. The Dixons needed tools. James, at 55, started therapy for the first time. He learned to recognize his anger as a mask for deeper pain. He practiced breathing and mindfulness to pause before reacting. Sarah continued her own therapy, focusing on self-worth and boundaries. She learned to say no, to stop managing everyone else's emotions, and to show herself compassion. The family started a weekly check-in, sometimes just a call, asking, "How are you, really?" and listening without judgment. It wasn't perfect. Some weeks were silent. But they kept trying. They were building new habits of emotional communication. Most importantly, they began to rewrite their family story. Instead of seeing their history as a curse, they saw it as survival. And now, as a commitment to healing. They stopped defining themselves by trauma and started defining themselves by their efforts to heal. They became authors of their family's future. The cycle wasn't just broken, it was being replaced. Healing was slow, but real. They proved change is possible no matter how deep the wounds, and that hope was their new legacy. Healing wasn't a straight line for the Dixons. There were setbacks, but now they had tools and a shared language. After a slip-up, James could say, "I'm sorry. My old stuff got the better of me." Sarah could hear it as an explanation, not an excuse. Family began to mean support and honesty, not just obligation and tension. Love became action, therapy, hard conversations, listening without judgment. They built a new foundation, mutual respect and emotional safety. Even Arthur softened, sharing more stories and showing interest in Sarah's life. One day he told James, "You're a good man, son." It was a moment James had waited for his whole life. The cycle wasn't just broken, it was being replaced with something new. Sarah's relationship deepened as she brought a healthier self to it. The Dixons were creating a new legacy: courage, honesty, and the belief that it's never too late to change. They proved you don't have to be defined by the pain that came before. You can decide the story will be different from now on. And that's a legacy worth passing down. The Dixon story is just one, but the themes are universal. Many of us carry invisible weights, echoes of a past we didn't experience but feel deeply. If you see your family in this story, know you're not alone. These patterns aren't a sign you're broken. They're part of being human. Understanding that your struggles may not have started with you is empowering. It's not about blame, but about giving yourself grace and context. Change is possible. It takes courage, but breaking the cycle is a profound gift. Start small. Read about generational trauma, journal, talk to someone, or seek therapy. You don't have to do this alone. Resources and support are out there. Every story shared helps remove shame and lights the way for others. Your story matters. Your healing matters. By understanding your past, you help create a better future for everyone.